Everything that could be frustrating about this is being frustrating. All right. I think we're good to go again, Lauren. Are you ready?
Yay, I'm ready.
Let's go. Let's try this second time.
Yay, let's do
Let's
it.
hope that things go well this time.
I hope so too.
Alrighty then. Okay. I think we're back.
Hello.
I did apparently jinx the stream.
You did.
I did
jerk.
jinx the internet. I'm very sorry, everyone. But we're gonna give this a second go, and hopefully things are now gonna be fine.
I hope so. For your sake.
All right, so let's try this again, shall we?
Okay.
Okay, so today we're going to be talking about, well, sorry, I should say, first of all, welcome everyone who's here so far.
Welcome.
Today we're going to be talking about Gamescom, because that was crazy.
Yeah, I was not expecting quite so much stuff to come out of Gamescom. And also I wasn't really expecting the stuff that came out of Gamescom to come full stop.
Really?
It was quite unexpected, some of the stuff.
You didn't think they were going to do anything?
Well, I didn't think that they were going to do Assassin's Creed Final Fantasy 15.
Yeah, I didn't think that was
I didn't think that they were going to do a pocket edition.
No. You
Like,
got PC though.
PC I did get. I did get PC. I guessed PC, and that is my win.
So yeah, I mean, like, I know that E3 they kind of alluded to the fact that they were going to be doing some stuff around, or some things around the Final Fantasy 15 universe.
Yep.
I think there was still kind of the I guess, I don't know, the hope, or people were kind of speculating that it could be the expansion that was rumored
Yeah.
towards the start of the year. The World of Versus thing clearly wasn't that. And there was the kind of thing when people, Arden's Pass won the survey, is what, the official survey?
I know it won ours.
It won our survey. But yeah, I think people were maybe expecting something about episode Ignis.
Yeah, I was surprised that they didn't have anything, but there again, like, it is really early, so it's kind of understandable that we don't have anything at the moment.
So yeah, I mean, I think it's probably best if we start at the beginning. We'll try and run through everything. Okay. I'll let you take that poll if you can figure out how to do the URL. So yeah, obviously before, like, was it before? Yeah, it was kind of before Gamescom started, because I think the Nvidia press conference happened the day before, and the oh wait, okay, gonna hold on. Where was the official survey? When did that come out? Was that today?
Yeah, what was the official result?
Did they give the percentages? Because I'm really, really curious how the percentages matched up to the percentages in our survey.
Luna came in second. Wow.
That didn't happen in our survey.
No.
That did not happen in our survey. But yeah, so the Nvidia press conference was the day before. They had Hajime Tabata up on stage, and he basically said, we're doing Final Fantasy 15 on PC, kind of the world's most known, biggest secret. I think everyone knew it was going to happen at some point, and yeah, when he announced it, it wasn't too surprising. I think, I don't know, it was quite interesting to learn kind of about the past, and that how the relationship came together. And it is kind of in keeping with Square Enix's, Square's history, in terms of they do like to be kind of innovative in technology. They like to push boundaries in different ways, and the fact that they decided that Nvidia, they felt the partnership was kind of formed, and they were able to work together to create this and work on new technologies and push things forward graphically. I think that can only be seen as a good thing for, like, Tabata's upcoming games, because Final Fantasy 15 obviously was not developed with this kind of technology in mind. The Nvidia team came on board, I think they said 2 years ago, right? Or around when the Witch technical demo came out. And after that, they obviously started working on the PC with the Final Fantasy 15 in-house guys.
Wait, so they didn't actually, like, when were they even going to like say anything about the survey results, because obviously they're happy to say them now, but like, were they just not going to tell us?
I guess they were just waiting for someone to ask. Oh, that's kind of strange. What? I'm gonna have to look this up because this all sounds really weird.
I don't see anything at the moment.
Where was? Has anyone got a link to the question or something? It's probably on Reddit somewhere, right? But anyway, Alec, how do you guys feel about the Final Fantasy 15 stream? Stream?
What happened to the other stream? It died.
Yeah, the other stream died. We had to make a new one. I didn't really think people would appreciate having 5 minutes of blankness at the start of it. How do you guys feel about the Final Fantasy 15 PC edition or Windows edition, I should say? Like, how many of you guys are actually planning on picking it up? Because obviously people have been craving it for a while and kind of clamoring it for it, and now it's a thing. Like, how many people actually do you think are going to pick it up? Because I think Final Fantasy 13, well, Final Fantasy 7 I think has sold over 1 million copies on Steam, and Final Fantasy 13 I think is on 700,000. So I'd expect Final Fantasy 15 to do pretty well. At least 500,000 Steam buys, I would have thought. And then obviously it's on Origin as well as the other one. What's the other store?
Steam, Origin, and
I can't remember the other one.
Why can't we remember it? Steam, Origin, and it's on the tip of my tongue. Windows Store.
Windows Store. Great. I think the Thomas the Tank Engine mod is blatantly going to happen.
My god. Thomas the Tank Engine as the Regalia would just be amazing.
I mean, it works pretty well in Skyrim. Although, what do you think it should be? It could work quite funny if it was the Regalia, but also if all the Imperial airships become Thomas the Tank Engine.
And it just plays that while you're fighting. Could somebody please do this when you're fighting all the MTs? It just goes.
Yeah, I'm curious to see what people have come up with. I mean, obviously, Tabata said that he wants to see someone create a mod where the 4 characters become Nintendo characters. So like Mario and Link and I guess I don't know who the other ones would be. Kirby.
Yeah, so this is what they said. So it says, a while ago, special thank you to Solid Chozo for this. So it says, a while ago, a survey asked about which kind of content us fans would like to see in the future. So who won the race? It was Arden's backstory that won, that the majority voted for. So we clearly got the message he's a person fans want to get to know more about. We're not sure as of yet how to do it, though. It's a lot of story, and telling a character's story is always the most difficult, detailed part of a game. So we don't know yet whether we'll make it another game. No DLC, though. It would be a full game or movie, comic, etc.
A full game?
Really want to tell his story, though.
But he said
second in the survey was Luna, by the way.
Okay. Luna came fourth in our survey. No one was really that interested in Luna stuff.
And like, oh man, no, just no. Oh my gosh.
Calm.
Well, the next question I don't really want to say because it's a spoiler, but I'm just like, just stop. Just end the Final Fantasy 15. I don't want another game. I just want Final Fantasy 15 to die.
I really want to see them release the survey results, or if they ever actually are going to, because I can't see Luna getting second place.
No, but apparently, well, that's what they're saying. Second in the survey was Luna's story. But like Julio, you got it right on the dot. That is what pisses me off the most, is that they're hinting all this stuff, but they don't seem to think that people will pick up on it and that like they'll remember it. So if they don't deliver down the line,
it's just one of those things where they
stop.
They want to get it in the public domain, and then they want to just say like, well, if there's demand, we'll do this and we'll do that.
I know. And like people get so excited about it, but they can't seem to see what a crock of poo it is, because it's just like, when is it going to happen?
I mean, Assad, I Final Fantasy 15 is getting a lot of attention, and I genuinely cannot really, I can't put into words how, I guess, like, baffled I am in some ways. That the fact that we thought that Final Fantasy 15 was kind of gonna, like, you know, we had episode Ignis.
They did say it was gonna be a single game, didn't they? They said from day one, like, they wanted Final Fantasy 15 to be a single game experience.
Oh, I'm
no
not
sequels.
talking about that.
Oh, okay, no.
I'm talking about the fact that just everything they announced at Gamescom was just crazy, because like, we had episode Ignis, we had Comrades left, we knew there was a couple of more free updates.
Sorry, but Ava, that's not what we wanted to... Sorry, Ava, I just have to remove your comment because it's spoilers. I don't want to spoil a lot of people, because, you know, the game is not really a year old yet. Generally, after a year, we're like okay with it, but like, that is what I didn't want to discuss.
It's okay.
Sorry.
So, the Final Fantasy 15 universe is now absolutely crazy. How many of you guys are actually excited for the Pocket Edition? Like, that's what I'm curious about.
Yeah, I mean, I saw that as just a waste of time. Because
I mean, like, I think with the Pocket Edition, it's really easy for us to kind of sit here and be quite critical of it, because ultimately the game is not even remotely in any way, shape, or form for us.
No,
like, it's not a game for us or anyone in this stream or anyone who's going to watch this video. It is not a game for us. It's okay,
Ava. Like, it's absolutely cool.
The Final Fantasy 15 Pocket Edition, from what I can gather, and when Tabata was kind of explaining it, it's basically designed for the casual fans who maybe have never played a Final Fantasy game before. They don't really know what it's about. They just want to kind of try something out, because I think the first episode's free, isn't it? And it's 10 episodes, so they've tried to make something fresh and original that will maybe get some people drawn in. I don't know what necessarily the end game is, though. Is it that they think that they're expecting people to try the Pocket Edition and then go and play the actual game?
But yeah, Sue, I agree as well. And like, the other thing is the fact that there's going to be a multiplayer element, which means that people are going to have to manage that, and it just seems like it's a waste of resources.
With
really.
What? The Pocket Edition.
Pocket Edition. Yeah, I think they said something about multiplayer. I don't care about the stuff. I just care about the console games. So it's really just disappointment after disappointment.
I think, I don't necessarily, like, Lady Vespera, I kind of get what you're saying, but the problem is that it's one of those things where, like, it's the way the video games are evolving.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily like a problem of just Final Fantasy, because, you know, when we saw, I think we were discussing last week maybe, that the Final Fantasy 11 mobile game is still in development, and Nexon put out the games they're working on. Like, Titanfall isn't even really a big franchise in the grand scheme of things. Like, obviously EA are kind of pushing it out. It's the EA, right?
Yeah.
EA are pushing it out massively because they want it to be like the next Halo or whatever. But like, it's not that big, and I don't think Titanfall 2 sold particularly well. But they're still working on Nexon is still working on 2 Titanfall games for mobile. Yeah. Like, mobile is just where things are going, and it's just the thing that kind of disappoints me is that Square Enix have now, it's their 4th mobile title related to Final Fantasy 15.
Yeah,
like one is probably enough,
and they haven't even released one of them.
Yeah. Well, this one hasn't come out yet,
King's
has it?
Knight.
Well, no, wait, is the Pocket Edition out?
I don't know. I don't think so. Maybe not. I don't know.
I think that's my issue with it. I don't necessarily have an inherent problem with Final Fantasy 15 Pocket Edition, because, as I said, it's not designed for me as a consumer.
No.
I'm not going to play the Pocket Edition because I will just play the actual game.
But I think that's the problem. Like, I mean, Daryl and I were even talking about this earlier. Like, I tried to ask Daryl what game in the last 10 years has Square Enix made, Japanese related, that fans were pretty much unanimously happy with.
And there's only one.
And there's only one game that I can think of, and that's Nier Automata. And that's it. Like, that's the only game that I can think of in the last 10 years that Square Enix has actually done that fans haven't been completely split on. And, you know...
I think the only other one, and I think it released in the last 10 years, was The World Ends With You.
Yeah.
Which people are... But it didn't sell.
Didn't sell well.
It didn't sell, so...
It didn't sell. Like, it's just sad because, like, Square Enix have this weird problem of trying to reinvent the wheel. And this is something we discuss as well. And it's just like they are constantly trying to push the envelope. But the thing is that what they're trying to push their envelope in, they're not used to and they never made before. It's like the Western RPG style of gaming. Like, that's not what they're used to.
I don't think you can really compare Final Fantasy 15 to GTA 5 because there's just been GTA 5 and they update the game and there's the multiplayer component to it, like GTA Online.
And also...
But there aren't, like, 10 spin-offs.
Also, GTA 5 is still one of the best-selling games for the console, essentially. Still.
I mean, nobody's complaining because it's just...
It's a good game.
It's one game.
And it's fun.
Like, if they had created, like, mobile games, like, handheld games, like, movies, whatever, then it would be the same. But GTA 5 is just GTA 5.
Kingdom Hearts is well received, but even then, fans are quite upset with... There are fans who are upset, like... Well, I'm upset with Kingdom Hearts because it's not accessible on console.
Well, it's like Birth by Sleep came out...
It was when they
right?
finally got it to 1.5, 2.5 HD remix now.
But I mean, Dream Drop Distance wasn't that well received by critics. I don't know about fans.
But I'm just talking about fan reaction.
Something that we're doing research for a new video at the moment, which is going to be very interesting. One of the things that is not going to be in the video is that, and I think it's kind of been alluded to before, but it was Final Fantasy 9 is kind of where they started losing their way a bit in terms of. So I was just reading an interview that they did shortly after the release of Final Fantasy 9, and they were saying that actually they received a lot of negative feedback around Final Fantasy 7 and Final Fantasy 8 because the style was so different from the previous 6 games. And at Final Fantasy 9, they wanted to try and address all the feedback that they'd received from fans from the previous 2 games. And like that was... It's the first thing unless I haven't... It's hard to find interviews for anything prior to Final Fantasy 9. But they were kind of talking about the fact that like fan opinions were actually starting to kind of sway their decision making, and that's why they went back to do like a traditional Final Fantasy game. But they didn't really have any idea how it was going to work. Yeah. Because like with the older games, it was 2D graphics. They could have like disproportionate characters and all this kind of stuff. Whereas Final Fantasy 7 and Final Fantasy 8. I mean, Final Fantasy 7, like the proportions and stuff is still pretty stupid. But Final Fantasy 8 was much more realistic, and then with Final Fantasy 9 they went back to like cartoony, and it's true. I mean, like it didn't appeal to the wider market as much because of that. Yeah, like it's like just in a simple way, like it changed the appeal of the game because Final Fantasy 7 and 8 they kind of had in all the concept art it was like actual people. Like much more realism, whereas there's still a load of fantasy in there. But Final Fantasy 9, it was very different. It was like a monkey guy.
And Lauren, I don't think it's necessarily that fans ruined Final Fantasy. I think it's more so that Square Enix's thoughts on what fans want.
Because I mean, like,
ruined Final Fantasy. I mean,
like, one of the things I was also found out is that basically. The first 5 games in the series, Sakaguchi just said, "This is the story, make it work."
Yeah.
Like, he didn't give a crap about what anyone thought, like in like critics or fans or
They
anything.
still had rewrites.
Yeah,
and
like
stuff.
but it would have been their own internal decisions, like
Yeah.
changes. They weren't really taking on board feedback from fans. And like 6, 7, and 8, I think was kind of similar. Like they were just kind of doing what they wanted.
Yeah.
Whereas from, I mean, it might not have been the case, but 9's the first instance I've seen really where they've said that like they were taking back on board feedback from the fans.
Yeah.
And that's not to say that that's bad, because it's like, we don't know how they were taking on board the feedback.
I think it's a really dangerous ground to rely on us for what would make the game great, because like there is a part of it where we have a say in that, like we're buying the game, so we have to kind of like it. But like when you dive further into that, each one of us is looking at Final Fantasy, what a Final Fantasy game should be from a different light. There's some people who's looking at Final Fantasy 12 as like the best game in the series. There's some people looking at Final Fantasy 10 as the best in the series. There's some people who are looking at Final Fantasy 6 as the best in the series. It's like they're all JRPGs, but they're all extremely different. And like even now, some people are saying that Final Fantasy 15 is the best. But if you go back and play Final Fantasy 1, it's a much different can of worms than Final Fantasy 15.
Yeah, I mean, Last Cost, you asked how much feedback did they take in. Obviously, it's very difficult to say, and I don't know the decisions, like why they took the decisions. But to me, the biggest piece of feedback they took was that Final Fantasy 9 was taking the franchise back to its roots. Like they felt that the fans were unhappy with the fact that the last two games, like 7 and 8, had deviated away, so they decided they were going to take the franchise back to its roots.
Yeah.
Like that's a pretty big piece of feedback.
Yeah.
If you ask me.
And like, I mean, the Moogle debate was like the prime example of just how toxic the whole fan thing is, because like you're gonna sit there and say that a Final Fantasy game is bad if you don't have Moogles in them. Like, that's just the dumbest thing ever. Because Moogles do not make Final Fantasy games. Story makes Final Fantasy games. Decent gameplay, good graphics make Final Fantasy games. You don't need a rat coming in and saying Coupeau in order for a Final Fantasy game to be good. I haven't heard one Final Fantasy game where they're just like, oh, you know what makes Final Fantasy VII fantastic? Moogles. Moogles are so great. Like, Chocomog is the greatest summon in the entire world. Who says that?
The greatest character.
Who says that? No one. So you're focusing on like little pedantic things like that, and it just ruins it. Like, just it's just so much. And I just don't think that we have some say in what happens with the Final Fantasy game. But I just feel like the developers need to stop being so scared.
I mean, that's Mr. Bablu P. I mean, yeah, like when I was reading the interview, I was kind of like, really? Like, you're the best two selling games in the franchise so far. Where did the negativity? There must have been negativity. There must have been people who went from 6 to 7 and thought, like, this isn't the game I expected. Like, the graphics are completely different. There's new mechanics. Like, it's a completely different type of story. I know the themes are still the same, but there must have been people that were upset about it. But clearly, there would have been people that were less upset. But then that's the situation you always end up in, isn't it? I mean, we kind of are seeing it with Final Fantasy 15. It's like from the survey results where it's kind of like how big the influx is versus, like, because I was a new fan with Final Fantasy 7. I didn't have any knowledge of the franchise up to that point. I had no expectations. I had nothing. And with every single game they make, whether it's like 12, 13 or 15, the same thing is happening all the time. It's just like kind of how big the influx of new fans is, which then changes the direction slightly.
Yeah.
Because like 7 and 8 were two best selling, but that doesn't necessarily mean there weren't people that weren't happy about what they'd done. And it's kind of how much credence they put on the opinion of those fans. I mean, we kind of sit here and expect them to make a game that we're going to enjoy because of what we've enjoyed in the past. But if the people that play Final Fantasy 15, there's kind of more of them now, then then why would they kind of listen to us? They listen to them.
And Mr. Bubbly P, it's mostly about like it's about more like specific things, but with regards to the mobile games, no, you say that nobody asked for it, but then why are 25 million people still playing Final Fantasy Brave Exvius? Like, every decision that you make, every time you download a Final Fantasy game on your phone, you are sending a message to Square Enix. Every time you spend any money in game on mobile, you are sending Square Enix a message. You're saying you were interested enough in this game in order to download it, and you were interested enough in order to spend money on it and care about it. You gave, even if you only gave like £3 or $3 or whatever, you sent a message to Square Enix saying that you want that. Like, regardless of how you actually come to feel about it, you at least downloaded it. So why shouldn't they capitalize on that? That is their sort of probably thought process when it comes to mobile games. But like with the main games, it's a, I don't know. Like,
I know Lost Cast, and that's kind of what I was saying. Like, it's the difficulty of the development side of things, because at some point they're just not going to keep people happy, and it's kind of how they'll deal with that scenario. And like with Final Fantasy VII, the franchise exploded. Like, they had a load of new, like, they'd never had anyone from Europe giving any opinions before, because the game's never released there. And obviously they're going to have a different, we saw with the Final Fantasy 15 surveys that they put episode Dusko on, the opinions between North America, Europe and Japan they can be quite different on a lot of things. Like the character personalities are a big thing, like the game difficulty, the systems that they enjoy. It's difficult to make a game that's going to please everyone.
Yeah.
And you know, with the Final Fantasy 9 thing, I was kind of like, they decided that they were going to focus on the pre-7 audience as opposed to the post-7 audience, but the 7 and 8 sold ridiculous amounts of copies. So it's not too surprising that 9 didn't sell that well. Like, it still sold really well, but it didn't reach the heights of 7 and 8. And then 10 obviously kind of went back to the previous style of 7 and 8 and sold really well again.
Yeah.
It's like, but then they decided to change things again, and like it's a very difficult. I'm not sitting here and saying that I have any answers for them, because it's a very difficult place to be in. And you know, for in terms of the next step, they can go two ways. They can either try and build on what they know has been successful with Final Fantasy 15, or they can do the similar thing and go, well, actually, no, the fans aren't happy with how Final Fantasy 15 turned out. We need to go back to turn-based battle systems. We need to go back to this. We need to go back to that. What are you focusing on?
I'm just reading a bit. I doubt that the people who downloaded all the Bravest, I doubt that most of them were new fans to the series.
It was one of the first mobile games.
Pretty sure that like a good deal of them were probably long-term fans.
Yeah, I mean, it was one of the first mobile games they did, so
yeah. But I mean, it's also the message that you send to Square Enix when you buy certain things from them. If you don't want,
I was gonna say just Last Cause. Actually, the more recent games they've been focusing more on feedback from the West than they have the Japanese market. I think Final Fantasy 12 was where they started to kind of take the Western view into consideration more often. From what I remember off the top of my head, that was the first game where they started doing focus testing with American audiences and making tweaks and changes based on how that turned out. I think every game prior to that, they had only done like tests with the Japanese audience, but 12 onwards, I think 13, they did a lot more tests with Western audience to see if they were happy with the game.
But yeah, like, I mean, my mobile sort of like message goes along with the DLC as well. If you don't want the DLC, do not buy the season pass. If you do not want, like, if you don't want that, you're sending a message. If you don't want that, by not buying it, you're sending a message to Square Enix saying that's the biggest message that we have, is that they essentially want our money. Like, they just...
Well, that's how they exist.
It's how they exist, which is fair enough. They're a business. They need to support themselves. Final Fantasy is one of the biggest names that they have on the Japanese side. Dragon Quest, you could argue, yes, it does have a big pull, but it doesn't have near as much, what's the words? Sophistication as Final Fantasy.
Dragon Quest is one that's kind of more quintessentially Japanese, I'd say.
But like Final Fantasy is like more universal. People people more so remember Final Fantasy 7. Like, they just remember Final Fantasy 7. I honestly, like, personally, I have no interest in Dragon Quest. Like, it's not a series that appeals to me. Mainly, I guess, because it looks more anime than it does, like, more realistic than Final Fantasy. Which is funny because I do really like the 16-bit games.
You laugh about it being an exclusive mobile game, but I mean, if you think about the Dragon Quest franchise, they did go to handhelds exclusively. Like, they didn't stick with consoles. And welcome Sonic the Hedgehog. I believe you had some comments on our stream last week with regards to sales figures.
But like, yeah, like the thing that you have to do is to just send the message saying that you don't want it by not buying.
But yeah, I mean, Final Fantasy 9, it's pretty known that, like, as the first Final Fantasy game to release on a console sells the best, and then they typically decline. Well, that's been the trend since Final Fantasy 7 at least.
But I will say, to that point, I am quite happy that Square Enix have done the surveys, and if anything, like, it depends on what they actually do with the survey. But I'm happy that they put both story stuff and gameplay in there, because it did send a message to them. The top 2 ones were story related. It
was heavily weighted. It was,
but like, at the end of the day, the top 2 items on that list that won were story related. And
I think by now they have to have got the hint that people were not happy with the story of Final Fantasy 15. If they don't get that, then I really fear for them.
I know.
I guess it's easy for me to sit here and say that, but then they had the same feedback from Final Fantasy 13 and they didn't change it.
Yeah.
Like, they had the Final Fantasy, but then
but
I guess
there again,
they
it
had
wasn't
so many issues. And
every game that every main Final Fantasy game now that they've had since 10 has been in development hell. Every single one. Final Fantasy 10 was completely rewritten. Final Fantasy 12 had somebody quit.
Chrono Trigger had like mass problems.
The director quit like halfway through. Final Fantasy 13 also had massive development hell problems. I think they had like a gameplay. Didn't they have like one gameplay trailer and then they like completely revamped the entire gameplay system in 13. The next one? Yeah. I think it was heavily. I think it was heavily redone. And then, I mean, you have Final Fantasy 15. The only ones that didn't have that. Well, I say that, but Final Fantasy 14 was completely redone.
Yeah.
But like, pretty much every single game that they've had for the main Final Fantasy game series has been in some kind of development hell. And they haven't been able to get out of it.
Just so we're clear, Last Class, Dissidia NT they've always said there's going to be story in the game. The difference is this, that I haven't seen the interview with IGN, but they've always said there's going to be story in it, and they said it's going to be integrated within the game. They just said there wasn't going to be a specific mode that you could just play the story.
Yeah, but sometimes it makes really terrible games.
Like Chicken Nukem Forever! Ooh.
Yeah. Final Fantasy 15. No, I'm kidding. Final Fantasy 12. No.
So, can I just point out the really funny fact here that Monsters of the Deep, which was supposed to be coming out mid-September, has been delayed 2 months. Which is very... And the delay was announced, I think, almost to the day of when the Final Fantasy 15 delay happened.
Yeah. I know.
It's like they just can't help but inadvertently troll themselves.
Oh yeah, and I think somebody, I think it was Rachel Casterton asked like forever ago, how we reacted to the Assassin's Creed thing. honestly, I was really confused. Like,
Yeah.
if you think about the context of the story, it's like, all right, he's a prince trying to be king, but he nighttimes as an assassin. He likes to just, assassinate people.
He likes to sass people.
Sass people.
Assassinate people. I think because you sent me a message saying like, you're never gonna believe what they've done now.
Yeah.
And I was like, there's no way you could ever predict that.
No.
Ever.
No. And I really don't know if I like the I don't mind the Assassin's Creed garb on Gladio, but on like Prompto and Ignis. On Ignis it just looks bizarre because you have really sophisticated sexy up top and then just Magic Mike down below. Like he has only a belt over his nipple and it just makes me laugh. It just looks so bad. But
I mean, like, I do like the fact that they've taken the care to like integrate the assassin's moves into the game. But like, I guess I'm sitting here as a fan of the franchise and seeing
both franchises.
I'm not an Assassin's Creed fan so much anymore.
Well, you were.
I was once upon a time.
But
I'm sitting here as a Final Fantasy fan thinking, how does this benefit Final Fantasy?
Yeah,
like it benefits Assassin's Creed.
But how?
Because it's like, I mean, we're talking about it. Like,
I guess.
I mean, the amount of people that are now going to play the Final Fantasy 15 event, whoever. I mean,
yeah, that is actually Steviofo. That's something that really pissed me off because, like, why would you give that away in the trailer? Why don't you just let it happen? Let people figure it out, like, as they're playing the festival that they need the Dream Egg. Like, I just was like, oh, well, great. Now I can report that that's what the Dream Egg does. And it's just like, but where is the surprise? I want to see the egg come out and do a little dance and then show the fun stuff.
Oh, Manny Davis, are you asking us what we think is the worst Final Fantasy story? Or are you just making a statement?
But yeah, to be fair, I have kind of gone out of the Assassin's Creed stuff, and I hate to admit that it's because of Ezio's dismissal, but more so after Revelations. But like, oh, I really, really love Ezio stuff.
Oh yeah, I mean, like Lady of Vesperia, the fact that kind of we're in this position now, like everything is so scrutinized. Like if Final Fantasy 7 through 10 were releasing now, would be crazy.
Oh my god,
there's so many like. I mean, even the fact like the Final Fantasy 9 end boss. I mean, like what?
I know.
They didn't talk about episode Ignis at Gamescom because Comrades is coming up before it.
Yeah.
And they haven't done that for either of the previous two. They've only started really talking about it like a couple of weeks before it's released.
Yeah.
So we're going to start hearing probably, like early December.
Yeah. Yeah, Assassin's Creed was really good. It went downhill after they, and I know that I'm probably going to get some eye rolls, but after they got rid of the Desmond timeline.
The RPG guy, I don't think anyone's butthurt about a free DLC.
We're just really confused.
I just don't understand. I understand it's a great piece of content for Ubisoft. Like it's a great promotional tool for Assassin's Creed Origins. I just don't really understand why it needed to exist.
Yeah.
In Final Fantasy 15.
It was just really unexpected and really weird because I just can't. I mean, I know that they defeat MTs, but I just can't see the main four moonlighting as assassins. It's just really weird. It's really strange.
Assassin's Creed lost its way after Patrice Décidé left.
Yeah, I know.
That was the end.
That was the end. And worst Final Fantasy story. I can't really say that it's the worst, but probably the one that like is my least favorite. And honestly, my least favorite is Final Fantasy 12.
There we go.
Yeah.
There we go.
It's just not There's just nothing.
It's just not normal.
I hate Ash. If I liked Ash, if Ash was a likable character, it probably would be better. And if it focused specifically on Ash. But otherwise, I'm just like, I can't get through this game. I just can't do it, guys. I can't do it. Although I will also say that Final Fantasy I's lack of a story did make it quite difficult to play. Because it basically has nothing.
But the thing that I've always thought about the original Final Fantasy is that they leave so much to your imagination with the story.
Yeah.
So it's not like you don't. The story makes.
I can put in my own sassy comments.
Well, like the story makes perfect sense, and you can start adding in like backstories and
it
stuff
makes
if you want to.
perfect sense. You have to find a witch's eyeball.
Yeah, it's clear. There's no ambiguity there. But whereas with Final Fantasy 13, for example, it's like, oh, I need to read the data log to understand what all these gods are, what the connections are, and all this blah blah blah. And if I don't do that, then I don't understand what the hell's going on.
That is one of the things that stresses me out about Dissidia, the new Dissidia game, because like somebody said about how the tutorial is just like ridiculous. It's like a freaking textbook, and I'm just like, I don't have the time for that. I need just the button mash, and I'm done. I'm good. But yeah, no, I do agree. I love Balthier. I do love me a bit of Balthier.
Papa Smurf, you have missed us talking about many things.
You missed me sassing and a lot of rants about Moogles and nipples.
You were talking about nipples?
I'm very offended by Ignis's nipple.
True,
no.
yeah.
And Linkerto, we are actually married. And we have a little babies.
I don't think that's necessarily the point in Eandia. No one's disputing the fact that Vlan was like the most cardboard cutout of a protagonist ever.
Mm.
It's more the fact that Lauren just didn't like Ash.
Yeah, I just didn't like her. She was just such a bitka. Buffy reference for anybody out there. But yeah, no, she was so mean. She was just like, silence. It's like, I'm not talking to you. Could you stop talking? And it's just like, calm
she's just mean.
down.
She's just mean.
I don't know if I want to get, like, I don't. Okay. So here's our life plan for Allie. Well, first of all, she has to be. Video. First of all, she has to be a sports person because we want her to be really into sports.
That's got nothing to do with video games.
That has nothing to do with video games. But we kind of want to do a sort of retro thing with her. So we really want to like. I have a Sega Genesis, but there's bound to be like a re-release sort of Sega Genesis thing in the time that. Up until when she's like about 5 or so. And I definitely want to start her off with some Genesis games or Nintendo games.
So if anyone's got any RPGs that they remember from the Mega Drive or the Genesis, then please let me know because I'm pretty.
But she's definitely going to be a Sonic fan. She just kind of has to. It's a rite of passage.
Forced upon her.
It's a rite of passage in our households. You have to like Sonic.
There was a lot of stuff rumored about Balthier being announced first and as the main character and all that stuff, and then Vaughn. But Vaughn was actually announced as the first character in the game.
Yeah, which is really weird.
Vaughn and Ash were announced as the first two characters, and then Fran was announced as the third character.
She is like it is. I can see what you're saying, Zach. Like, yeah, that's fair enough. But the fact that you kind of, I feel like there's a small part of you that has to like the characters that you're with. Oh gosh, I actually, and Daryl always rolls his eyes at me. I actually really like Sonic 3D. Like, guys, I like Sonic 3D. I think the music was great in it.
It's the beginning of the end.
And I was like,
Sonic Adventure was okay.
4 years old at the time.
Sonic Adventure was decent. I don't know how it holds up to how it stands the test of time, but I remember thinking it was alright at the time.
it is true that Ash like lost like a lot of stuff, but I was just like, oh, come on, girl. Just
That's the thing though.
lay off.
Ash is supposed to be a protagonist, and like, and again,
Yeah.
the protagonists will go through like difficult times and struggles, but it's kind of like she doesn't really change her attitude.
No. She got a bug up her butt.
Noctis is in Dissidia NT. It just hasn't been officially confirmed.
No, I like Sonic 3D. Leave me alone.
Oh,
Leave
dear.
my Sonic 3D alone. I love the little flickies that follow you around. Little flickies. I know it's a Final Fantasy stream.
We need to get back onto Gamescom, right?
I
Okay,
know.
right. Out of everything that they announced from Final Fantasy 15 at Gamescom, what was the thing you enjoyed the most? And don't say nothing,
Yeah.
because I will come for you. You have to be somewhat
Daryl's-
positive. You have to be positive. We want to spread the positivity. It's just like, it's what did you hate? It's not what did you hate? It's what did you like the most, which may be difficult in some ways, but I think the fact they're doing the PC version is positive news. I think that's good.
Yeah.
I think there's any negatives there.
Yeah, Sonic Mania. Although she might cringe at that because she just wouldn't be able to beat it because it's harder.
Is it?
A little bit. Worst main character in Final Fantasy.
I really didn't like Hope. First Hope.
I really don't like Ash.
Nude mods. Oh dear.
Oh yeah, the chapter select. That was a pretty cool mechanic that they've added in. Yeah, I think that would be really cool because you could just relive certain bits of the game.
I'm gonna sit here
Yeah,
and I'm gonna
PC
say
version
something
is
that's
good.
slightly bad, but I'm expecting them to announce a release date for the PC version towards the end of the year because it's early 2018, and I'm expecting them to not hit that release date because I think so far they actually hit any planned release dates within the Final Fantasy 15 universe. The DLC, I guess.
Yeah, Justice
Like,
Monsters
the
5
episodes?
yeah, the DLC. You do not come for my squall. My squall is my love. Ash just oh, I feel very victimized by Ash.
Hi Shin to the Sizzy. We're about 48 minutes in so far.
But to be fair, just because someone else doesn't like a main character that you happen to really like, it's okay. It's okay. I know Squall is a bit of a dick. Like, let's just be honest. Squall is a bit of an a-hole. He tells his teacher to go talk to a wall, which I thought was very rude. But I still really like him.
What mods do I want to see? I don't know.
Thomas the Tank Engine Regalia.
Yeah, I mean Thomas's Tank Engine is pretty basic.
But although the MT one was even more
I mean, it would be
fantastic.
great if they could do some more practical stuff where, like, mod the Regalia so it doesn't game over if you land badly. That would be nice. I don't even know why that was put in.
But if we are thinking like main character, Bart's is kind of unmemorable.
Excuse me. What? Someone asked who's the least memorable is.
Butts.
Least memorable? Who's the... What? If it's the least memorable, I'm probably going to remember them.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah.
I only remember Bart's because butts.
I hope they don't announce a second season pass.
I know. But it doesn't really affect us because we're not going to buy it. Ah! Boons, 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 boons.
No, Ravenous Fallen. Final Fantasy 13 is not the worst Final Fantasy game ever. Mystic Quest. Go play it. Do yourself a favor. You will learn a new level of loathing.
Yes. And you will realize that not all is lost.
There are worse things out there.
Yes, there are. But then neither is the Dane. He only has one little bit in the game where he's angsty. The Dane is like the least angsty of the angst. He's just a little monkey boy with his little tail.
He does get pretty angsty.
Yeah, he has like one scene of angst.
Which is awesome.
Yeah.
Which is awesome.
One
should have learned a lesson from that. It's okay to have a small moment.
Yeah.
But you just got to get through it.
Yeah.
I don't know who they're going to announce for Dissidia NT. Like, we talked about it last week, but like, I'm kind of worried about the whole season pass thing and which characters they're going to put in, because if they're just going to announce characters that were in Dissidia Duodecim, like, that's just not fun.
But Zidane's quite positive. Titus is actually quite positive, really.
He's pretty damn positive.
He's pretty positive. I like Titus. He's like my favorite.
Cammy, I mean, it's obviously did its job at getting you
I'm surprised
into the
that you stuck with it. What do I want Square to announce next?
I want them to announce that they are stopping with the Final Fantasy 15 franchise universe and are doing something else the more interesting.
Final Fantasy Platinum Games collab.
I mean,
I actually had an idea today that I think like it would be so cool if instead of Dissidia we had like a Skullgirls type fighting game for Final Fantasy. I think that would just be so awesome to have like sort of this anime. I know I said earlier about Dragon Quest being anime and I was just like meh, but I do like Skullgirls, and I think a Final Fantasy Skullgirls thing would be fun.
Well, we're running out of battery, which means we've got to stop soon.
But I like Snow as well.
I think our battery's done.
Oh dear.
Because you've been using it so much.
I know, I'm sorry. As for how disappointing stuff is, I mean, no, because there's like so much stuff still to talk about with regards to the series. I mean, we already have so many videos lined up to talk about with Final Fantasy, which is great.
There's no way Final Fantasy 15 is the last game in the franchise.
No
way.
No, it sold way too well. They're just milking it for all it's worth until they can sort themselves out with the next one.
I mean, like, yeah. I mean, some people in the last week have kind of been saying, why are you talking about Final Fantasy 15 updates if you want them to stop with the universe?
Yeah.
But it's like, there are still a lot of people that do care about it. And
and we have to respect those people.
We just kind of like, it's like, just with the amount of stuff that they released this week, we haven't reported on everything. We've reported on the stuff that we're, out of what they have done, are more interested in and think is more interesting. Like, we haven't really spoken too much about the Pocket Edition because it's not for us. It's not our audience. Like, I don't need to tell everyone that they're producing something that our audience aren't really gonna like. Like, I mean, how does that help anyone? But yeah, there's still a ton of stuff that we can talk about on a regular basis. It doesn't really discourage that much because Final Fantasy 15 as a property is kind of done. Everything they're doing after it, like, it serves a purpose. Some people enjoy it, some people don't. I would rather they focus on something else that's kind of fresh and interesting, but yeah, it's just...
And Nick, no, I mean, like, I'd say it's not necessarily that I'm not a fan of Final Fantasy 15. I just was really disappointed because I thought that Final Fantasy 15 has so much potential to be like one of the best Final Fantasy games in the series, but it dropped the ball so hard on the story that it just depresses me. So it is that girl on America's Next Top Model that I had so much faith in, and then she ruined it.
Tintin Thomas. Well, I mean, we have no idea if they've started on next Final Fantasy title yet. Like, I mean, most of the like Final Fantasy 15. Well, I'm not even going to get onto that one. But Final Fantasy 13, like, they started like 3 years before they even announced anything. Like, so there is a good chance that they are, I mean, at least doing concepting around the next game. That they'll definitely be having some internal conversations. It might only be like 5 people working on it at this point. We don't know, but our camera ran out of battery, Assad.
Yeah.
So I think we're gonna have to.
So you get to hear our lovely voice, but yeah, we might have to start heading off because I'm getting sleepy.
So we have some interesting videos planned for you guys this week. At some point during the week, we will be putting up the results for our survey where people said who they want to direct Final Fantasy 16. It was supposed to be last week, but then Gamescom went crazy and ruined our plans.
Thank you, Gamescom.
We're also working on another video at the moment for one of our Patreon supporters, Satria Jarasadama. I'm finding out a load of really cool kind of background information around the game's developments. So we're going to have some fun facts about Final Fantasy 9, 7, 10, I can't remember, 6, and what was the last one we've got in there? Do you remember?
10, 6, and what?
What was the other one?
For which
video?
The forgotten stuff.
Yeah.
9.
I've done 9.
Oh.
We got 9, 7, 10, 6. What was the 5th one? 12? I can't remember. I think it's anything 12. Anyway, that's fine.
Yeah, there's a bunch.
I haven't written that bit yet. And then we've got a load of other stuff coming out as well. So Chris Hugathy, who did a video a while ago talking about the sins and trials of Final Fantasy 7. We've got another video coming out with him, which is going to be pretty interesting. And yeah, there's a load of stuff we're working on at the moment. We just want to try and get it out. We just need to release it. We need to work on the script, get everything published.
I know.
But yeah, if you do want to support us on Patreon, then please check out our Patreon, which Lauren's going to throw a link in the chat for.
Yep.
We're going to be doing another giveaway very soon. We're probably going to be putting up a video during the week for our 31,000 subscriber mark. Lauren's just purchased some stuff that we're going to be giving away. And yeah, if you're a Patreon supporter, then you've got a much higher chance of winning some cool stuff in the giveaways than if you are not. So that's something to consider. Obviously, depending on the level of pledge, you can get a badge that Lauren will make. We've just sent some out, which is really cool. And yeah, you can suggest topics for us to make in our videos or make videos about.
Yes.
But yeah, if you wouldn't mind hitting the like button before we all skedaddle, that would be much appreciated. And yeah, I guess we'll see you guys next week for some more interesting discussions about numerous things. We didn't really stick to the main topic that much this week, did we?
We never do.
We never do.
One day. Susie Liu?
Not actively, but I have seen that she does quite a lot of Square Enix playthroughs.
Oh yeah, she's is she? What is she? Is she English? Is she?
I'm not sure.
Yeah, no, I know who she is. Yeah, no, she's really sweet, isn't she? I do like her playthroughs.
All right. And that's pretty much it, Lauren. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that is it.
All right. Bye, guys.
Bye,
we'll see you next week. Bye.